Hey guys, this is Geometrics here from TSM FTX. This is my KAID guide, and shout out to Loadout for sponsoring this vid. KAID is more of a team-oriented op, so support. I would say his main objectives would be wall denial. KAID, in my opinion, falls under the category of what I like to call speed bump characters. This includes like Malusi, basically characters that basically stop the enemy team from just rushing in. So for example, KAID with his claws is able to deny the wall for as long as possible. And you can get 3 walls, you can get 2 hatches, you can get a bunch of stuff with KAID, but basically he's more of like just stopping the other team from rushing in. What makes KAID a good support character would probably be like the utility. The guns aren't too good. He has 2 primaries you can use, but I mean, if you're using the TCSG, you're kind of trolling. But basically he has C4, it's kind of chunky, and he has good wall denial and hatch now, so that's pretty much kind of what you need for a support character in sight. KAID you want to bring when you're either stacked for people or higher elo, because at the end of the day, at lower elo, people don't really want to open anything, they just want to run in the site and shoot. He forces the enemy team to work together. Like I said, you mostly want to play them when you're either stacked with people or at higher elo. I would say weaknesses for KAID would probably be Thatcher and Mav. At the end of the day, they really have to be really skilled to like actually map the wall. For Thatchers, you need 2 Thatchers to get rid of it. You might get lucky and they only use 1, then you just pay trick it. Also watch out for Twitch. Twitch obviously has her little Twitch drone. Doesn't do that much damage if she zaps you, but she can obviously just zap your claws, so you gotta be careful with Twitch. What operators I would say synergize really well with KAID would probably be Jaeger and Wamai, just for the fact that they catch enemy utility. So basically anything that catches the now would be a good synergy with it. I would say another character that synergizes well with KAID would probably be Aruni, just for the fact they have to burn utility at the gate. I wouldn't really say there's any comms you want to run with KAID. KAID's mostly, like I said, a speed bump character. You just bring it and to God you can deny the wall. I basically play KAID for our team because it's a support role and it's team oriented. In competitive, we basically play KAID to stop the other team from just rushing or just basically snowballing the game to a point where they actually have to work together to get something instead of just running in. So I would say it's a really good team oriented operator and it just slows down the other team. For gear, I use a Logitech Pro X Superlight. Yeah, it's a really good mouse, good feet. Something relevant, I would say, at least for the KAID guide, would be my scroll wheel. I use a scroll wheel for secondary gadgets, so that's C4, stuns, nades. And obviously, KAID has a C4, so I would say the scroll wheel just allows me to actually throw accurate C4s, just blow them up. For KAID, I would say in the prep phase, you just want to make sure your team and you are reinforcing, because at the end of the day, your gadget or your utility is kind of like what KAID is really good for. So I would say make sure they reinforce the walls or get the hatches, because I mean, you can't claw anything unless you got reinforcements, right? You can set down barb, but I mean, if you're bringing barb instead of C4, you're basically trolling, so you already took a nail there. Also, make sure to hop on the cams as soon as the round starts so you can see where they're spawning. But just make sure those walls are reinforced, those hatches are reinforced, because no reinforcements, what are you gonna do with your claws? For loadouts, if you want to win, put on the AUG A3. Make sure you have the 1.5, whatever barrel you want. Make sure you have the vertical, unless you're quick with it, you can put on the angled. Make sure you use the LFP, the revolver. Do not use whatever this thing is called. And it is a terrible gun. It flies like Jordan, you are gonna lose. Make sure you bring C4. Barb, you wanna slow them down, but I mean, you're trolling there. You can bring the TCSG if you're feeling hot. If your shot's electric, if you're feeling it. And you can just switch up your uniforms if you want. Got a bunch of cool stuff in here. Same thing with the headgear. And there you go. For tips and tricks using KAID, I would say there's a lot depending on the map, just for the fact that you can really hide the claws. For hatches, that would just be like a simple trick would be instead of putting the claw on the hatches, once you put the claw, you can see the radius. You can just put the claw as far away as you can. As long as the corner hits the hatch, it will be electrified. So yeah, little tricks like that can really help you. Depending on what elo you have, a lot of people don't really know that you actually need 2 Thatchers to correctly not get tricked by a claw. So basically, all you can do is you can just pick up your claw, and even if the first one gets destroyed or disabled, you can throw your second one on the second Thatcher or first Thatcher, and you'll be able to trick. So you just gotta make sure you're able to pick up the claw again, or just trick it with your first one. For destructibility, you can do a lot with it. Just obviously you need either a teammate or you gotta bring the TCSG, but you can do a lot of basically remodeling, just so like you can really hide the claws. Like I said the whole thing about border, you can hide it in the floor, you can hide it in the roof, you can hide it like a floor under, you can hide it a floor above. There's a bunch of stuff you can do with the claws, so you gotta make sure you either test out or just see Cooking the Bros videos. For mistakes, I would say one of the biggest ones I see is people just pick KAID, throw it down just anywhere in the open and start running around, try to spawn, peek, or just kill. I think a lot of people misunderstand. If you want to do all that, you gotta switch characters to like Bandit, Mute. But if you want to actually like help the team snowball the game, I would say make sure you try to hide or actively trick the walls with your electric claw. I would say for support players, it's more about selflessness, if I said that right. So basically, he's gonna focus on more of the team instead of how you're doing. You could be dropping 0 kills. I've had it before in me in Pro League matches. You drop 0 kills, but as long as you're denying walls, you're holding on your spots, you're on cameras, you're helping your team, it doesn't really matter what you do. You can look terrible as long as you're winning. That's at least how I see it. When you're playing KAID, what you want to communicate to your team is basically how much utility you've either wasted, or for example, Thatchers. Let's say you waste 2 Thatchers just for them to get the wall. You can call that out. You want to hop on cameras, make sure you're calling spawn points, make sure you're calling entry points. Just gotta make sure you're just like communicating. It doesn't have to be correctly, as long as you're like their team knows something's going on. It'd be really helpful. The worst you can do is just be a support player and not say anything, just sit there. How does your road change after post plant? Great tip. Don't let them plant. You just gotta make sure you're correctly communicating for a retake. And that's, let's say you have a C4 and you didn't waste it for the plant. You gotta make sure you throw that and communicate with your team what you were able to retake and how you're gonna retake it. The longer the round goes, I would say KAID would have to start focusing more on gunplay. So let's say there's 10 seconds left on the round. I mean, you gotta stop trying to claw trick, you know what I'm saying, and get in there. But I would say, obviously, the later the round, the more you would have to do. Instead of just sitting there and trying to support, you would actually have to get involved, get in there, get in there. Thank you for watching. This is my guide on KAID. Shout out to Logitech G for sponsoring this vid. Make sure you like and subscribe. You can also follow me on my socials at TSM_Geometrics. And that's it. Hey, if you want to follow me on TikTok, I dance there on too. I'm not going to give you that one though.
Yeah, what are his big weaknesses?
Oh, okay,
And
yeah,
then how do you play around those weaknesses?
Okay. Switch character. Can we add that in?
Yeah, we can add that.
What's should I say it? Should I say it again?
You can say it again.
Oh, okay.
Use that one though.
Oh, they'll use that one? Yeah. Okay.